Good afternoon, welcome to Southwest London and welcome to the first live stream of the new Greene King IPA Championship season between Richmond and Ealing Trailfinders. We're around about 5 minutes out from kickoff at the athletic ground where the conditions are near perfect for running rugby. But before we get into today's teams and the run into the match, let's take a quick look at what's coming up this season on championshiprugby.co.uk and on our Facebook Live channel. Just a taster there of what's set to come in the Greene King IPA Championship this season. We'll be streaming up to 10 matches via Facebook and via the Greene King Championship website. There'll also be Sky Sports broadcasting throughout the season as well. Now, if you were early, joined us on Facebook, you would have noticed that Tom May got out his microphone and had a chat with both coaches, Steve Hill for Richmond and as well as the Director of Rugby, Ben Ward, at Ealing Trailfinders. Now, we'll soon look at the teams, Tom, but what were the coaches saying about their selections? We know that Richmond have made 3 changes to the starting lineup and Ealing just 1.
Yeah, I think Richmond are pretty disappointed about their first 40 minutes last week, completely taken to the cleaners in that first half. But there were changes made at half-time and they made a difference for Steve Hill, and I think that's what he was really trying to say, that the guys that he changed, they made a difference, and that was what he was asking of them. So I think they won that second half 7-0 against a good Bedford outfit. So they'll be really confident that they can turn things around. At the start of the season things can go wrong, but on a home game today, with a fantastic field as we can see, they'll be looking forward to this fixture, especially with it being against local rivals.
Teams come up on your screen for Richmond as Ealing come out. Muted applause from the home crowd. The Richmond roar will surely be in action when Richmond run onto the pitch, but Richmond's side, well, they've brought back Rob Kirby at fullback. Jesse Liston comes into the back row at number 6, and Jeremy Cunyu takes his place in the front row after performing well last weekend. Ealing, for their part, well, they played out an absolute thriller at Vallis Way, 29-28. They beat the Cornish Pirates. A nice moment now for Ronnie McLean, number 12 for Richmond today. Runs out ahead of his side, winning his 50th appearance for the club. Nice moment for him, and the players now join him on the pitch. Interesting subplot to today is that Ronnie McLean used to don the white and green of Ealing. So if he scores today, he'll know who to be celebrating with, or maybe he won't be.
I think it's always good when you come up against your old teams, isn't it? You want to prove a point. You want to show what they're missing out on, and certainly Ronnie McLean forms a good midfield partnership with Cameron Mitchell.
Just confirming that there, the centres, yes, Ronnie McLean and Cameron Mitchell. Cameron Mitchell making his 50th appearance at the end of last season as well, so experience in the centres at championship level. Ealing Trailfinders, just the one change to their side that beat Cornish Pirates. James Cordy-Reddin dons the number 14 shirt, has 7's experience, looking to add to his 3 tries which he scored against Richmond last season. Mark Bright, Ealing's club captain, collects the ball in characteristic style. Bright knows these grounds very well from his 5 years here at London Scottish. Moved to Ealing for last season and one of their standout performers, no doubt. Now this is Davis, another standout performer in the colours of Richmond though, winning his 191st appearance for Richmond today. All-time club record in the modern era. This is Phipps, the hooker. Now Gabitas finds Kirby, who's back from injury and looks lively early on. Rob Kirby has the kicking tee today, so important day for him. Davis gets his hands on the ball for the second time already. We're not even a minute gone. Only 28 years of age, Davis. Could feasibly rack up another 100 appearances for the club. Knock on there. So Richmond's good start, putting the hands through the ball, but imprecise just at the end.
Yeah, I think they'll be pretty pleased to just get through some sets there. You know, get through the phases, get used to the conditions, build up your confidence, you know, especially on the back of last week. They know they have the ability to really take the game to good size like they did last week against Bedford, and there's no doubt Ealing are going to be one of the top performers in the championship this season. Their signings have been fantastic, and I think they add a huge amount to their squad.
One of those new signings has the ball in his hand, number 9, Grayson Hart, signed from Glasgow Warriors over the summer. Kiwi by birth, but has 2 caps for Scotland as well. And Bright finds Hart, who finds Penberthy. Kirby comfortably takes that in and looks for space himself. Penberthy read it well. Puts a chip kick in, and Kirby can only watch it go out. Nice chip from Aaron Penberthy, and the couple of kickers today just squaring off there, Tom.
Yeah, I think these early stages are always about, you know, just trying to put pressure on the opposition. And those kicking battles are so important. If you don't get your kick chase right, it allows the opportunity to the opposition to really use their counter-attacking game, and there's no doubt if you kick badly to Ealing, they have that ability, especially with Seb Stegman on the left wing.
Yes, Stegman, former teammate of yours at London Welsh, Tom.
Yeah, he played well last year for Yorkshire. He's obviously played for Quins over the years as well. He's got some experience.
Jason Phipps at the back of the maul there for Richmond. Plenty of experience in Richmond's colours here. Back from injury, the number 2, the hooker. Such an important player, and was a real live wire standout in adversity last week for Richmond. Looks to be back to his lively best. Scrum half Luke Jones finds his kicker.
Probably knew he had the penalty. It's certainly an area that Richmond have to take the game to Ealing. Strong up front, got some really big players. Townsend in the second row, along with Barney Madison. They are man mountains. And then let's not forget Duratalo in the back row. Look at him there in the midfield. He is enormous.
Yep, he's a monster. USA international, arrived over the summer. Man of the match in his first game last week. 2 tries as well.
He's probably perfect for Ealing in terms of their 4G pitch over at Vallis Way. The pace they tried to play at. He's obviously been on the 7 circuit. Mike Friday spent a lot of time with him developing his skills and his fitness. Certainly a player to watch.
Yeah, it's an interesting one about his fitness. He made the express point to come up to me at training to say that he didn't like doing yo-yo runs. He didn't like doing shuttle runs.
Does anyone?
Still looked in good condition last week, though. Davis again. Started at a hell of a lick, as Davis won most of his caps for his club here from the back row, from number 8, but in the row today, McLean, the 50 appearance man. And our referee today, Fergus Kirby, spies the knock-on, so another scrum to Richmond. Well, compared with their start last week, Richmond will be pleased not to have conceded just yet. They had a torrid afternoon in the first half against Bedford. As you say, Tom, they played so much better in that second half, but at this level, you can't afford to have a slow start.
No, definitely, and especially against Bedford, who've made, you know, some good signings over the summer. They've got the basis of a good team anyway, so you turn up not fully prepared, your mindset's not quite on the game, then you will get taken to the cleaners. But fair play to them, you know, all it took was a little bit of a talking to at half time, and they turned that round.
Yeah, one does wonder what Steve Hill said at half time to make them turn around.
Probably not repeatable, but
probably a lot of shouting. Luke Jones with the ball in his hand. Now Kirby, now John O'Woodward. Only 5'10" on Richmond's right wing, but packs a punch when he gets going. Home crowd will be pleased with this start from Richmond. All possession is theirs. Not made the breakthrough yet, but Phipps is trying to do just that on the far left-hand side. Davis picks up again and gets the offload into Jones. Jones tries to continue that. Ball goes down, Kirby dives on it. No surprise really, but Davis at the heart of everything that's good at Richmond at the moment, takes the ball on there again. Advantage to Richmond, but they don't take it. Well, Luke Jones thought about taking it there, but advised against it by his better senses. They are in front of the posts after all.
They're playing really well here, Richmond. They look like a confident side, and that's fantastic, bear in mind the result of last week. They've obviously worked really hard during the training week, the opportunities that they have had to be together. And it's certainly paying dividends, shifting the ball really nicely, using the width, stretching the Ealing defence.
Well, Jordan Simpson-Heft was at fullback last week, meaning that Kirby wasn't playing due to being rested. But that confidence, having a kicker like Rob Kirby in the side, that one posing him no problems, and giving Richmond a 3-point lead.
I like the way they called it rested in round one.
Peter Lydon kicks off for Ealing. Really high, hanging one that from Lydon. Well claimed by Richmond. They sucked that one in. Jones with the box kick. It looks to land under Mark Bright, who sets off upfield, puts in an offload as well. Now Ealing's backs can go. Penberthy finds Piers O'Connor, who stretches his legs for the first time. Hart, Alan Walker, well, he's absolutely clobbered in midfield. Super hit from Richmond's number one, Jeremy Cunyu. Hart, Joe Munro, Lydon sees a gap. This is Barney Madison. But will come all the way back for Richmond offside.
First real attack we've seen from Ealing, and it was pretty accurate, wasn't it? Full of pace. Certainly Piers O'Connor in that outside 13 channel, looking really sharp. Possibly an opportunity to just shift it to his right wing. Cody Redden, but decided to take it into contact. Certainly earned themselves the right to have that penalty.
Well, we just paid Rob Kirby a compliment for his kicking from the tee, but Peter Lydon deserved that as well. He has a metronomic boot, which London Scottish fans who also play out of the athletic ground here will be well aware of in his stint at the club. He scored 23 points out of the 28 points that Scottish got against Ealing last season. And after that performance, he turned up at pre-season, so obviously impressed them in the best way possible. And no fault from the tee there either.
Certainly doesn't try and chip it over, does he?
He has got a huge boot. And supposedly he can hit them from inside his own 10-metre line, so 60 metres. By my maths.
I won't even try and use my maths.
So Rob Kirby kicks off. Taken by Cordy Reddin on the far side. Fantastic condition Richmond's pitch is in, it has to be said. Considering they have two clubs which play here, London Scottish and Richmond, they have to keep the players from training on it. That's why it looks so good. Bouncing ball. Ealing come up with it though. And Lydon has a bit of space to try and work some magic, and Stegman gets his hands on the ball for the first time. Loose offload though, Duratalo was lurking. Hart picks it up well. Bit of under the arm stuff from Hart, back to O'Connor. Duratalo goes through the middle. Penalty to Richmond. The ruck was formed and Duratalo went back to pick up the ball. Assuming those new ruck laws in play there. Fergus Kirby on the spot. Offside line had been formed.
Certainly as Ealing brought the ball back down towards us here in our commentary position, there's an opportunity just to shift the ball through the hands. As soon as you make that miss pass, it allows the defender to shift off. Perhaps if they'd gone through the hands, used their attacking numbers, and Seb Stegman might have had 1 or 2 yards more space than he did have.
Phipps with the line out. Goes over his intended man Davis, and Gabitas has to hack on. Has worked out for Richmond though. And they have a penalty as well. So high tackle, the reason there. Rob Kirby sizes up his options. He has a big boot and he thinks he can take it from this distance. Well, he scored 109 points in the Championship last season, making him the 7th highest point scorer in the league. Given that Richmond finished 11th overall, it's pretty good going. To apologise, actually finished 10th there with London Welsh's ejection from the league in January.
I think they surprised some people last year, didn't they? I think they probably took a bit of time to get into the league itself. Probably didn't have a huge amount of confidence in themselves, but then I think it was always a case of getting close to getting to a win, getting a win, and then it would be a couple more, and it certainly turned out to be that way. Shot.
Kirby's second kick of the day. 6-3 Richmond lead.
That was a great strike. Not a huge amount of wind here today at the athletic ground, but certainly a really good contact with the ball. Probably seen that both sides need to keep their discipline within range.
So Lydon goes high and out of shot again. Jones fields it. Gabitas delivers the exit. Well, their exit strategy was one of the things Steve Hill picked up on that they weren't good at last week against Bedford. And Gabitas is shaking his head. He's not totally happy with that. Something they've been working on all week, so not exactly right on that occasion. Ealing with the line out. Alan Walker with the ball in his hands. Duratalo goes up for it. Liston came out of the line to try and stop the ball going to his fly half and achieved just that. Will Davis takes it on. The number 1 for Ealing.
Good line speed from that Richmond defensive line.
Penberthy didn't manage to get much distance on it. It goes out for a line out on the far hand side.
And both teams have got a real desire to play with the ball in hand, but they've also both got really big line speed in defence, so you just think at some point the controllers of the game at 9 and 10 are going to have to try and find some territory, use the corners, use the boot.
Well, it's something no side likes to admit to, do they? But they all say they want to play with ball in hand, expansive game, but the kicking element has to come into it. Absolutely crucial at this level, where you can get punished from anywhere, seemingly. So if you're watching this on championshiprugby.co.uk or on Facebook Live, do let us know what you think of the match, how it's shaping up, what might happen later on as well. Leave us a comment or via Facebook and Twitter, hashtag #ChampRugby, or at the Twitter handle @ChampRugby. Certainly seems like a nicely poised game, this one, after 15 minutes of the first half. Penalty Ealing for not rolling away. So Jeremy Cunyu, the man who incurs referee Fergus Kirby's whistle there. Lydon with that left boot again, that is another monster. Peter Lydon, just 24, joined from London Scottish 4 this season. Third top point scorer in the division last season. Now Hart has the ball. Set play move, but Richmond read it well. Townsend, the captain, on the pitch today, takes it on, and now Duratalo. He's being met well by Richmond's defenders though, not making the headway he made last week against Cornish Pirates, and crossing. Well, that was as clear as daylight. A little bit imprecise from Ealing. Tom, slightly unexpected given how they approach these things.
Yeah, I think Barney Madison probably just ran into the wrong hole in the line actually. He should be running just outside Gavitas there, which would really create that space on the outside. That said, he got it wrong and it caused his team a bit of a problem.
Yeah, it meant Mark Tampin, the tight head prop, had to be creative and think quickly on his feet, and
it's not probably
forward.
You said it, not me. I think if we're going to compare the two sides on the sort of performance in the first 17 minutes, you just have to say that when Ealing have got the ball in space, when they've got the opportunity to run, they just look a bit sharper. You wonder whether Richmond out wide have the same sharpness, the ability to go from anywhere. Certainly you feel that Ealing do.
We'll be interested to see which way they go from this scrum. Penberthy is out to the left, the fly half. Joe Munro and Piers O'Connor, there's two centres on the other side, on the right. Well, they won't get the opportunity. It's Richmond's scrum anyway. Chance for Richmond to escape their 22. Huge scrum from Ealing. Kirby finds a good touch, but Lydon takes it quickly. Stegman gets scragged by Jono Woodward. Great tackle on his opposite man from Woodward. Hart shapes for the box kick, and the chasers fly after this, led by Stegman. Kirby looked for the offload, decided against it, and now Gavitas has seen a space behind Stegman, and that's a useful looking kick. Comes through to Kirby. Seeing a lot of the ball in this first half is Rob Kirby. That's a high up and under on James Cordy-Reddin, but he takes that very well. Being asked by his coach to look for work today, James Cordy-Reddin. So expect to see him come off his wing when Ealing have the ball, but good work in defence there. And now Cameron Mitchell tidies the ball up. But Ealing's fetchers get to him, and Duratalo comes up with that ball. No surprise there.
No, he's certainly good over the ball for a big fella. He's not exactly your typical number 7. If you compare him to Richmond's number 7 in Jack Alcott, he is a real dog at open side. Puts his head where he knows it's going to get in trouble.
Yeah, indeed. It's a really tough task for Richmond's back row against the likes of Mark Bright, Andrew Duratalo and Rain Schmid today.
You think of the experience that they've got and the situations they've played in, the games they've played in, all that they can call upon. Really, Richmond are fairly inexperienced in that comparison.
From here, the whole pack have to put their head down and defend the tight maul. Townsend secured the ball, and they go over for the first score. That was all too easy from a Richmond perspective, but Ealing will be delighted.
It's Will Davis, was it Will Davis? It might even been Alan Walker. And that's one area of the game that's It's a fantastic score from Ealing, but so difficult for Richmond. They don't probably necessarily get the training time that Ealing do, and the difference between the cohesiveness of that unit is therefore probably the outcome we've just seen there. They've just splintered away.
Townsend took the ball down, the captain, and then it was Alan Walker, absolutely right, Tom, mate. Dotting down.
Too easy, wasn't it? Very simple. No defensive cover on the inside of that maul as they were starting to move forward. Everyone committed to that defensively from Richmond's point of view. Too simple, too easy.
Well, it was a close range try, and Walker's no stranger to the try line. He scored 2 hat-tricks last season for Ealing. He had a finisher's sense there, didn't he? Lydon's touchline conversion is good as well, making it 10-6 to Ealing Trailfinders. Fine touchline conversion that from Peter Lydon. When you're playing a side like Ealing, Tom, those are the kind of tries which you've just got to put your hands up and say, well, as Chris Davies knocks the ball on there, he'll be so disappointed with that. But those sort of tries, Tom, you've got to brush yourself off pretty quickly, haven't you, after that? Because a pack like Ealing, when they get it right, you can't stop them.
Yeah, I think from a Richmond perspective, you just say, right, we got that completely and utterly wrong. How do we fix it? Who should have been there? How do we stop it? And then go back to the drawing board. And, to be fair, it's been a fairly level contest up until that point. They're just the areas, I think, the difference in training times really make a difference on the playing field. It's that understanding, no matter what level you play at, this sport is all about understanding, communication, the time you spend with your teammates.
Strong Ealing scrum again. Mark Bright tidies it up. Townsend plays scrum half. Hart looks to go himself and finds Cordy Reddin, who's looking for work. Hart to the try scorer Walker, to Rain Schmid. Hart again, Penberthy gets his backs going. O'Connor shapes to go outside and finds a little bit of a space between John O'Woodward and Cameron Mitchell. Stegman now puts his head down. Does well to stay in, does the left winger. Munro to Davis. Penberthy has options and finds O'Connor. That was the best one. Fine run from Piers O'Connor, offloads to his centre partner. Ealing have the advantage. Penberthy out to Duratalo. What can he do from here? The USA International gets an offload as well. It's James Cordy Rennan who benefits, but that was all about the consummate skills of Andrew Duratalo.
Fantastic from Duratalo. They're the exact skills you would expect to see on the 7th Circuit. Worked so hard at them under the coaching eye of Mike Friday. But really that's all come about from the hard work of Piers O'Connor in the midfield as well, having a good game so far, the 13. He's finding some holes in that Richmond defence. All just seems a bit too easy at the moment. Certainly as we see the score again from Alan Walker, that was far too easy. I guess sometimes you just have to hold your hands up and say, well, that was a fantastic piece of skill. And certainly Duratalo has that in abundance.
Lydon now lining this one up from similar position from where he slotted the last one. But the Irishman's left peg there just drifts to the left of the post, so unsuccessful conversion. So now Ealing Trailfinders go 2 tries to the good up. 15-6 they lead. Well, after Richmond started at a hell of a pace, Ealing have come back into this and used their forwards and their backs combining really well. It was a bit of an all-court try, that one. Piers O'Connor with that initial thrust, and then a moment of brilliant skill from Duratalo to put Cordy Reddin away. Richmond here, though, have the throw-in and field position as well. Untidy line out. Davis looks to bring Ealing into an arm wrestle up front. And that's Will Warden, the captain, taking it on the number 4. When Richmond play well, so much of their play and the inspiration they derive comes from Warden. Kirby is hit, clattered rather, in midfield. Now McLean shows a clean pair of fields indeed. Tackled by Grayson Hart. Show and go from Cunyu. Gavitas. Kirby puts boots a ball and has Mitchell and Woodward chasing after this, but
just what Richmond have needed. Spent a long time in their own final third. Really want to get down and apply some pressure to that Ealing defence. Fantastic kick from Rob Kirby.
Only 26, Rob Kirby, but he does feel like he's been at Richmond forever. Joined the club in 2014. Crucial player when Richmond got promoted from National 1 to the Championship. So we see Ealing's line out set. Put in some fantastic work. The head coach, Alex Codling, well, it's no surprise they're very good at line-outs with Alex Codling as their head coach.
If ever there was a line-out Norse, it is Alex Codling.
Yes, it's funny, line-out Norse seems to be the word for Alex Codling, doesn't it? Darry Morris said it on Facebook Live last year when we covered the championship there.
The finer details of line-out play are just bread and butter. Alex Codling lives and breathes line-outs.
Richmond do enough there to win their own line-out ball, though. Phipps takes it on. Now Liston at the back of the maul. Parker gets in there. Luke Jones digs for it. Richmond seem to be... There's no way Jack Alcott was giving that back to him, but he passes on in the end. McLean now. Liston puts his head down. Scrumcat comes off in the process. Brought into the team to provide that grunt around the fringes. And penalty comes. Well, I don't know how much Jesse Liston knew about it, but he was the man that took it in.
He did well to keep control of his body really in that contact area. Really difficult sometimes to make sure that your body's in the right position. You're giving a clean presentation of that ball to Luke Jones at 9.
Rob Kirby indicates for the posts. Very different style to Peter Lydon. He takes more of a footballer's swipe at it, but it goes straight and true nonetheless. 3 penalties for Kirby and reduces the deficit to 15-9. One of the fascinating subplots to today's match, Tom, is the amateur versus professionalism side of things. Richmond, a wholly amateur club, focus, and Ealing, fully professional side.
Definitely. It's really difficult, isn't it, for the Richmond boys? Then, you know, there's always that excuse to go back to. They won't, but you know, there is always that lurking in the background. Perhaps that's the difference in the pace that we see. Certainly, they do look very sharp, the Ealing players.
Penberthy puts the high one up. Cordy Reddin does well to knock that back. Really good chase from Cordy Reddin.
I think it was Piers O'Connor as well in that far corner. Really playing well.
O'Connor signed from Wasps for this season. He's looked very sharp on the athletic ground today so far. Now Munro, Lydon, now Duratala has a bit of space and feeds Stegman straight away. Stegman shackled well though. Burst forward was from Tampin. Munro spots a gap, but again a little bit of crossing there. Also spotted by Fergus Kirby.
They're just getting into some good positions, Ealing. And it's the final pass. It's twice now. You can't be sticking your arms out as an attacking decoy runner and expect to get away with that. Referees will be looking for it. It's just an easy out for them. Disappointing return from that attacking set from Ealing. Certainly they'll feel they should have spent more time down in that 22 of Richmond.
So Richmond back in Ealing's half, and well, going back to the amateur professional is an element of this match, Tom. Will Warden, although they are amateur, described playing in Championship rugby as a very serious hobby. Given they started their pre-season on June the 4th and did about 3 or 4 trainings a week, but even back then, that's certainly fair to say.
And when I did the Championship launch with him a few weeks back, he turned up in his suit, the only one to turn up in a suit. Brilliant story for Richmond.
And now Conyu's on the attack for Richmond. Bursting forward is the loose head prop, knocks it on in the process though.
It's disappointing for Richmond. One real opportunity, scything break from Ronnie McLean, I think it was in the midfield.
Conyu was
a bit sloppy, isn't it? I think that's Chris Davis, is it?
Well, Richmond are knocking on the door of Ealing, but they're yet to truly challenge the try line. And Ealing's scrum dominance so far has been pretty impressive. Although this time Richmond do get the nudge on. Bright has to tidy up and does well. 38 years old is Ealing's number 8. And I believe, Tom, that's even a little bit older than yourself, so...
Don't let him hear you say that, man. He gets pretty upset. I saw him last Sunday, actually. I bring my little boy down here for mini rugby, and his 2 boys are at London Scottish, and he was showing me the soles of his feet after having played on the 4G at Vallis Way. I'm not sure you would call them soles of feet. They were in pieces. So certainly today is not going to be the most comfortable of experiences for Mark Bright.
And neither Monday morning or Sunday morning as well. Chip through from Richmond, and it goes back to Luke Jones. Jordan Simpson-Heft crawling forward, and Cunyu again looking to make amends for dropping that ball when a chance was in the offing. May only have been a half chance, but that's how they come in the championship sometimes, such a competitive league, and Jones goes quickly. McLean weighs in to clear out. Davis goes far, now Jones. Gabitas goes himself. Cunyu again, brushes off one, does the loosehead prop. Reinstated into the side for this match. Full of running at the moment. Jones feeds his forward runners. And now they're within a yard of the line, picking up, looking to get over at Richmond for their first try in this game. Powering forward is Davis in the red scrum hat.
So close, there's some space down this near side. Oh, the other way.
Now out, it goes out to Jordan Simpson-Heft, who only has to jot it down. And up in the gantry, we can hardly hear ourselves think with the roar from the Richmond fans. Simpson-Heft's try, bringing Richmond right back into this one.
Brilliant try from Richmond, real team effort. Direct in the midfield. Pick and goes, really just getting the 1 or 2 yards that make the difference out wide. I thought having gone left, he'd made a bit of a wrong mistake, but picked off well and finished well. Richmond right back in this.
Cameron Mitchell with the scoring pass. Just as we come to half-time, this try couldn't have come at a better moment for Richmond. Jones to Mitchell, and then Simpson-Heft just arriving. Coolly dots down in the corner. Kirby's conversion goes over. So Richmond haul themselves into the lead with only a couple of minutes to half-time. Fine try from Simpson-Heft, former New Zealand Development Sevens player. Easy score that one though. Lydon probes with his left boot to try and bring Ealing back into this match. But Kirby finds a good touch. So Ealing, well, if they are to end this half in the lead, then they're going to have to come up with something from 60 metres or so. And Richmond steal the line out. They fancy they might have a little bit more in the tank before half-time. Davis, Gabitas, McLean. Penalty, though, to Ealing. To be a bit of blocking with some of Richmond's decoy runners. Ealing's players just checking their timings. I mentioned that Lydon might even be able to kick for goal from 60 metres, but not on this occasion. A little bit of rain coming down now at the athletic ground, so instead he puts boot to ball and does very well indeed to bring Ealing just before the 22 line. Walker, who scored the first try in this half, throws in. Hart off the top, Pemberby. Schmid ball pops out and Liston gratefully swallows it up. And Jones will gratefully kick it out for half-time. It's ended with Richmond in the ascendancy. 16 points to 15 to the home side. Ealing Trailfinders, they look to have wrested control on this half with their 2 tries, one from James Cordy-Reddin and one from Alan Walker to get things kicked off, but they hadn't reckoned on Richmond coming into it right at the end. A try from Jordan Simpson-Heft and a touchline conversion from Rob Kirby. We just see exiting our shot there. Will Warden, Richmond's captain and number 4, must be pleased, must be over the moon really at that first half. Ealing with things to ponder then at half-time. So as the fans here at the Athletic Ground head for a half-time pint. We will be endeavouring to bring you the thoughts of some of the players from both sides on the touchline.
Before the game, you would have seen me with a massively sunny pitch behind me. You now join me in the pouring rain. We have thunder over the back of the camera, a couple of bits of lightning, and I'm joined by Rory Damant. Rory, lovely to have you with us, and thanks for braving the lightning as it just goes again.
You're welcome. Yeah, you're welcome. I really enjoy getting pulled out of the stands then to come and do a pitch-side interview.
The warmth of the stand to get out here in the rain and the lightning. What you'll do for your team. What do you think of that first half performance?
Well, it's a lot better than last week. It's a lot more control. Freddie at 10's controlling the game better, plugging the corners a bit, playing in the right areas, which we identified last season in our first season in the Championship. And obviously having Rob Kirby back at full-back, he's got a massive boot on him and knows where to put the ball, so that's made a big difference this week too. And
how did you prepare this week on the back of what was a really disappointing, albeit first 40 last weekend? How do the boys come back in for their training sessions this week?
It's just a matter of cutting out individual errors. When you look at last week, we got one where the referee blocked one of our players, it didn't get pulled up for a try, and then the others were just real soft individual tackles. The guys, just put their hands up, admit to, and just get on. And we realised that there's actually nothing wrong with what we were trying to do, and we cut that out. And as you see, we're well in with a sniff of winning the game at the moment.
And it was a bit of a slow start for the side. How do you think? Well, what was the reasons for that? A bit of a hangover from last weekend?
Yeah, I think so. I think, unfortunately, with our sort of part-time scenario, we often seem to get a bit slow starting. I don't know whether it's because of a working week or what have you, but we need to cut that out. You let teams get too far ahead of you in this league and there's no way back into the game.
We're going to have a chance to look through the VT of some of the tries from this afternoon, so if we can just have a little look at those. Talk us through these, Rory. I thought this was a bit just too soft.
It is, yeah. We've hit the wrong part of the maul there and he's just slipped down the blind side on a pretty decent peel off the maul. They've worked on that and we should have identified that and stopped it really.
Is that something you work on hard during the week?
It is. I mean, our coaches do great analysis. They would have picked up that Ealing utilise this a lot, and not that I'm a forward, but I'm sure they would have been well briefed on it, and and could have done better there. Yeah.
Just seemed that certainly seemed a bit too easy for Walker to just scamper over in the corner. And as we can see, it was very sunny about 25 minutes ago. But yeah, that was far too soft. And then what about this from your boys?
Well, this is far better. This is what we've been working on, is a bit more composure in the opposition's 22, and then taking our time and going down the short sides and finishing it well. I mean, in the past we've suffered from getting white line fever, too many pick and goes, bumping in, little knock on, bumping into your own man, something like that. So much better.
And you work on going through those phases, building team scores, as it were.
Yes, we do. Yeah. Just putting teams under pressure and making it count, really, and not letting them off the hook. So just got to cut out those little errors that do let them off.
Well, Rory, I'm going to save you from the rain. I think it's going to be a pretty damp second half. How would you approach this second half if you were inside the change rooms now?
Well, you've got a 1 point lead, so you've got to try and build on it. You can't just sit on it. But again, just plug the corners, play the territory game, and try and pressurise Ealing to make mistakes and then capitalise on them. Top man, get yourself in the dry. Cheers.
It was a fantastic round of fixtures last weekend. Let's have a quick look back at the highlights.
Well, welcome back to the live stream. We're here at half-time between Richmond and Ealing Trailfinders. Richmond lead 16 points to 15, and the heavens have just opened. Welcome back to the gantry, Tom May, as well. You're looking a lot more wet than when you last left.
Yeah, I wish I was you up here. I'm absolutely freezing now and soaked to the bone, but there we go, all good.
It is very nice up here, I have to say.
It was just the lightning I was worried about, which was slightly concerning.
It did suddenly come over, didn't it? Well, Rory Dumont, yourself, full credit for your professionalism. You stuck at it. You had
slightly scared.
Rory's points were a 1 point lead, but it was almost as the weather was coming down. The weather will, of course, change the second half, Tom.
Yeah, and I think we mentioned it, didn't we, in commentary in the first half. There are times when you do have to try and play the territorial game, choose the opportunity to kick the ball. And certainly both sides are going to have to look at that in this second half. Perhaps more of the driving game, which may play into Ealing's hands, having seen what they did to that defensive line-out drive from Richmond. But I think Richmond will be really pleased with that first half on the back of a tough week last week. You know, no matter what they did in that second half against Bedford, it's always good to finish that game on a positive, but certainly that would have left some dents in the confidence, certainly in that first 40.
Yeah, and to finish with a try like Jordan Simpson's heft, where it was a simple try for Jordan, but a massive team try as well, gone through the forwards and then just created the space. They'll be pretty chipper at half-time.
Yeah, and I think they were really patient. That's one of the things that I guess was a bit of a criticism in the first quarter of this game, was that every time Richmond got into the key areas of the field, they turned the ball over, or it was just a silly mistake to let Ealing off the hook. Certainly, after that big break by Ronnie McLean, I think it was, down that left-hand side, they seemed to build in confidence, build through the phases, and the forwards were picking nice lines around in and around the ruck. And then I actually thought they'd blown that going by going back down the left, because the space was over here, but certainly picked off those Ealing defenders and a fantastic score in the corner.
Tom, we mentioned before kickoff the importance of Ealing's back row, and by that qualification we have to credit Richmond's back row for stopping a lot of their runners on the gain line. Yes, Andrew Duratalo still created that amazing offload to score the second try, to create the second try, but Jesse Liston and Jack Alcock and Jake Parker have really stood up in defence.
Yeah, I think both sides have shown that they've got a real intent in their defensive systems. They want to get off the line, they want to make big hits, and we've certainly seen that. I think there was a massive one from Chris Davis, who obviously we know plays in the back row, normally shifted to the second row today. But Jesse Liston and Jack Alcock especially, if the conditions are like this, is going to have a real opportunity to get his hands on the ball and be a real pest at the breakdown. And that's something that Ealing are going to have to look at. Yes, they want to shift the ball about, but now there's a shift in the weather conditions. There needs to be a shift in mindset as well.
Well, I was looking back through the statistics between Richmond and Ealing at half-time, Tom, whilst you were getting nicely wet on pitch side. And if Richmond are to go on and win this will be the first victory they have over Ealing in the National Leagues. They've played each other in the National Leagues, 2 matches last season in the Championship, several before in National League 1, and also in National League 2 South, and in National League 3 South as well. Ealing have won 11 of them, and there's been 1 draw. Richmond have won none of them. So in terms of a historical element as well to this game, as well as valuable points on the board in the Greene King IPA Championship, there's a lot of stake for Richmond, potentially making modern era history.
Yeah, and I think it means a lot when you're playing against a club that's effectively just round the corner. Bear in mind where some of these sides have to go and play. Down in Cornwall, there are big, long journeys ahead of some of these up to Yorkshire. When you're playing a side that's literally just over Kew Bridge, you need to, you want to turn out a good performance and leave something that makes a difference in terms of the way those results are seen. You don't want your neighbours having one up on you. It'd be the same when they come up against London Scottish, for example, here. It's a really big opportunity in a big game, and both coaches touched on it beforehand. There is an added element of spice to this fixture because of the local derby nature.
Yes, well, there's plenty more rugby coming your way this season on England Rugby's live channels and on the premiershiprugby.co.uk website. There'll be up to 10 games streamed live, and Sky will be covering Championship Rugby throughout the season as well. So if you want to engage with us, let us know what you think of the first half, what might be coming up in the second half. Twitter and Facebook are the channels, and at Championship Rugby is our handle, and hashtag Champ Rugby as well.
Looks like the rain's easing up actually, which it's obviously just waited for.
Well, it timed it well just for you, Tom. But I mean, Rory Demont, the man you spoke to, first choice fly half last season. He's watching Freddie Gabitas out there playing. There's a couple of other fly halves out there as well. And Richmond don't have a recognised 10 as cover, so Gabitas is a crucial player today. And Rory Demont, I bet he's just aching to get back onto the pitch and show what he can do at this level, as he did last year.
Yeah, it's never nice watching the players in your positions having fairly decent performances. But I thought Rory Demont spoke really well about the first half performance. He obviously understands the game well. And certainly the points he made were very valid for this second half.
Well, Ealing, as they were in the first half, first out for the second half. And it is glorious sunshine coming out here again at the athletic ground.
That's absolutely broken me. I've basically just taken one for the team there.
That was a 10-minute shower, especially for you. So, well, it may not be the more of the kicking game we thought it might be. The ball will still be slippy.
I think that's the point, isn't it? As soon as the ball goes on the floor, as soon as it goes through the breakdown, it will become wet. And that just adds an element of doubt into the ball receiver's mind. And it just means you just got to be a lot more accurate, a lot more precise in what you're doing, and take the risk out of it. There were times when Richmond looked to try and shift the ball in their own third, and certainly Ealing did that as well. Perhaps we might not see that as prominent as an option in this second 40.
Well, Richmond did seem to have more of a problem in getting out of their 22 versus Ealing, who, in Peter Lydon, the man with the ball in his hands at the moment about to kick off, have a kicker who can seemingly get them out of trouble from any area in the pitch. So we're underway in the second half here at the Athletic Ground. Richmond leading 16 points to 15 in the second round match of the Greene King IPA Championship. Richmond tie it into the ruck to start off with. So both sides are as they were in the first half, no changes at half-time. Ealing have a fully stocked bench, so do Richmond, and talent on both of those as well, so no doubt they'll come into play, but a reflection on the work that both sides did in the first half that their coaches are sticking with the starting 15s.
It's a good kick chase, sorry, tongue-tied there from Richmond. Put real pressure on Mark Bright, and then made the second tackle as well.
Going up for that were Ealing's chasers, and didn't they do well to reclaim that? Hart has the ball now. Richmond a bit disorganised in defence.
They're just short as well. They're not coming around the corner, so there's too many numbers on that far side. They were slow to react. Yes, they've won that turnover, but if Ealing managed to get that ball back, and you get those lazy defenders being slow to get around the corner, that's where Ealing can look to try and expose Richmond down the flanks.
It looked like it was Jesse Liston who had got his hands on that ball, and Alcock was on the floor as well, having made the tackle. Richmond's back row, one up for them early in the second half. Kirby finds a nice touch just outside the 22. So the rain is back, but we still have sun as well. Still not warm though, as Richmond's bench will testify to. Jason Phipps is bringing the ball up to the line here, and first chance for him with a slippery ball to try and find his man. Goes short, but Ealing, with their line-out sets, do steal it. Knock-ons from both sides though, so Richmond will have the scrum.
Set piece is going to be difficult, especially at line-out. Just makes it a bit of a lottery, which therefore means that you might find the opposition competing within those set-piece areas a lot more.
We mentioned Alex Codling's passion for line-outs in the first half, but it's going to be coming into play in this second half. No doubt Ealing will be challenging every single one.
As the sun almost comes out. Amazing.
All seasons in one day, it seems, here at the Athletic Ground. Jones puts the ball in. And sets off, has McLean with him. McLean stops and starts again and finds a little bit of space. Woodward now with the offload. Jones. Davis. The record-breaking man. Gabitas. Back to McLean, who puts it on the outside of his boots. That's for Simpson Heft to chase. Well,
really good kick.
Super kick from Ronnie McLean.
Exactly what his team would have wanted. I'm being hyper critical here, but if you're going to make that even better, maybe just make it stop so that Ealing have to play that ball out. Seen the pressure that people are under during line-out time, the wet ball. Oh.
Well, it was a super line-out, went beyond the 15-metre line. Great throw from Alan Walker for Ealing to get out of a sticky patch there. Lydon has a second bite of the cherry and corkscrews it down behind Kirby. Unbelievable kick again.
That was two spirals on a bounce, which you hardly ever see. It's a type of kick that it's almost just evaporated from the game, hasn't it? The spiral kick, just a lot less accurate. But if you can catch it right, as Lydon has done twice there on the bounce, fantastic weapon to have.
And Kirby's reply was not bad, but he still lost his side 40 metres or so in that exchange with Leiden.
And those kicking battles are all about being as patient as you can. Don't get bored with doing the little things well, getting a good kick, chasing well, putting that side under pressure, forcing them into making an error.
Madison takes it in the line out. Ealing set up the maul straight away. Look to rumble forward here. Grayson Hart now takes it off his pack and finds himself a little bit of space. Duratalo pops it off. Davis carries forward. Now Tampin. Pemberley has to regather. High ball for him, but so puts the high one up on Kirby. Kirby underneath it, and although three Ealing players were around him, he wasn't really under pressure. We will come back though. Grayson Hart's dart down the left-hand side, earning his side a penalty, which Leiden may fancy from this distance and angle. Good catch by Kirby.
It was a bit of a shot to nothing, wasn't it, by Pemberley? It was a poor kick. And I guess when you know you can come back for the penalty, just give it everything. Possibly an opportunity though. There was a better kick. We've seen the problems under the high ball.
Well, with Ealing's line-out working so well in the first half, they've unsurprisingly gone for a 5-metre one here. Walker asked to find his man. The rain now completely stopped at the athletic ground, so Townsend takes it down well, the captain. Ealing set up the rumble. Walker peels off. Hart has to step over it. Tampin powers forward. Tampin again.
Good carry.
Schmid burrows forward, puts his head down. Forwards lurking around the side of the ruck. It's Will Davis now. Hart using his props really well around the short exchanges. Now it's Madison's turn. Met by his opposite man, Davis. Schmid, it took Duratalo, it was that took it on. Hart, scrum half away, so Walker picks it up. Bandage around his knee, but carries so well. Richmond's defence, though, stays resolute. Walker picks the ball up at scrum half. The ball is still there. Hart has to bow himself, and the new signing from Glasgow Warriors does get the score at the opening start of this first half.
Good score from Grayson Hart. Eventually, the wall of Richmond defence broke down. Didn't have enough numbers around the corner. He knew exactly what he was doing in those spaces, didn't he? One or two big hits from Richmond. It just started to get a bit ragged in around those guard and half positions. And I think it was Simpson Heft that just got slightly too wide from the breakdown. That first defensive position needs to be right next to the breakdown. As we see from this angle, it just drifted wide. Lack of communication. I think it's here. He needs to be right on point there, because actually Grayson Hart would have run straight into it if he'd stayed there.
Well, Craig Trenier, the number 3 for Richmond, was the man on the other side who made the gap as well, and Grayson Hart didn't need any second looking.
Great kick. How was it? Looked pretty good.
Not quite good enough, say the touch judges, for Peter Leiden's second missed kick of this match. So Ealing do retake the lead. 20 points to 16. Penalty straight from kickoff to Ealing there for taking the man out in the air. Richmond just a little over eager.
Referee's going to have a little conversation, I think, with his assistant. Possibly could see something slightly more sincere.
It looks like it will be. Well, he went to his pocket for a moment, did referee Fergus Kirby, but
certainly left his mark on Glenn Townsend. How costly an error will that be? I guess if you're going to lose someone in any position, you can probably sacrifice a winger ahead of anyone else. Just means your backs and your defensive line have got to work a lot harder to ensure that they cover the space.
Well, just to confirm that there, John O'Woodward was yellow carded, so Richmond down to 14. Richmond's back three going to have to work so much harder now, and Mark Bright already looking to benefit from the extra spaces that will come because of that. Penberthy testing time now for Richmond with a man in the bin. But Ealing just over eager. Knocking on there, so Richmond survive for now.
Talk about adapting to the conditions. When you're down to 14 men as well, you have to adapt your systems to make sure that you can cope defensively and through your attacking sets with a man down. How are you going to get around missing someone in a particular role? Everyone's got their own roles and responsibilities. Who fills in?
Well, Richmond were down to 14 on 2 occasions last weekend against Bedford. So if there is a silver lining there, it's that they were used to it last week.
It's never going to help though, is it?
No, and Ealing will be looking to make the absolute most of it. McLean takes it on. Looks to have done just enough to get it back, and it's a penalty. Richmond. Ealing thought they'd turn that one over, and had they turned it over in that scenario, they could well have been looking at running in another try.
Just from the reaction of the Ealing players, you wonder whether Alex Codling at half-time has really looked at their discipline. You know, they were, who was it? Joe Munro, hands in the air, jumping up and down, really disappointed about that penalty that they just conceded. Just allowing Richmond opportunities to get out of those areas where they're under pressure. You just feel if Ealing can stay there, can sit on top of Richmond, then if they keep the ball, then they don't have it quite enough to withstand that time and time and time again.
So the new man on for Richmond has his ball in his hands, Ross Grimstone on for Jason Phipps. Straight into the thick of it. Richmond look to have secured that line out. Grimstone now gets his hands back on the ball. Ealing and Glenn Townsend particularly doing their best to disrupt it, but patient work from the Richmond 8. No doubt looking to tie this ball up for as long as they can, eat up the minutes whilst they're down to 14. Gabitas, Liston knocks it on, and Bright gratefully dives on the ball. But they'll come back.
Quite a good ball from Gabitas. Sorry, just on the inside there. Jesse Liston just got too eager, too flat. I guess I wonder how many times that gets said to a player over their career. Keep your depth. Hold your depth. Run onto the ball. But it's something that's so difficult to do when there's so many things changing in and around you, in front of you. Players defensively coming from different positions. Still need to be able to do that and adjust.
On your screens now, we're seeing Richmond's captain Will Warden receiving some treatment. Used to have a little bit of cramp, does the captain. Well, despite his frame, he played football until he was 16 years old, did Will Warden. And after that, rugby came calling. Been at the club since 2011. And in that time, his performances for Richmond have been recognised with Representative honours for no less a club than the Barbarians. Hart now has options either side of the scrum. Free kick given though, and Bright takes it quickly. Ealing's club captain, not the captain on the pitch at the moment, that's Townsend, but Bright, a seminal player for the side. Box kick taken by Simpson Heft. Goes back to Kirby. Now Madison fields it. Gives it to Hart, who bursts another tackle. Really coming into this game is Grayson Hart. And that's why Ealing bought him to Vallis Way. Such a quality player. And when he was an under-20, he even kept a young Aaron Smith, New Zealand All Black, on the bench. Now Ealing's backs go on the far-hand side. O'Connor looked to switch with Lydon. The attack carries on. Bright popped up out of nowhere and almost held onto the ball, but knocked it on, and Ealing will come back all the way onto this right-hand side as Richmond were offside.
Good to see that there's some interaction going on in social media. We've had one comment come in from ex-England hooker Phil Greene. Glad to see he's watching, but he says, good to see Duratalo 8 applying his trade. Keep going well, pal. He's obviously watching with a keen eye on Duratalo, who's obviously played for Sevens, USA Sevens, sorry. Been involved with Phil. He certainly had a big game. Carries so well, doesn't he?
Yeah, he
in the back row.
Absolutely does, and made an appearance at the Olympic Games last summer for the USA, out in Rio. Goes to Schmid at the back of the line out though, Duratalo's colleague in the back row. And now Walker ties it up at the base, looking to rumble forward and perhaps set up a peel. Hart has his hands on the ball. Brings it open. Cordy Reddin didn't come onto it with much pace, and Richmond swallow him up. Will Davis though finds some yards for himself. Now Duratalo has a chance, powers forward, reaches for the line, and he gets there. Andrew Duratalo scores Richmond's 4th try in this match, and that could prove to be the crucial score as well.
Fantastic power from Duratalo. Literally only just speaking about him, weren't we? And his ability to drag his side forward with his powerful carries. Seeing exactly that there. Certainly that's exactly the response Alex Codling would have been wanting from his forwards. The shift would have gone slightly from that expansive game. We've seen it go towards the forwards now with the damp conditions. Yes, the sun may be out, but certainly had a downpour at half-time.
Well, that really is one for Duratalo to mark up as a back row try against his opponents, because Alcock and Jake Parker were hanging on to him as he went over the line. And amazingly, we're only 2 weeks in, but that's Duratalo's 3rd try of the season.
Just get the impression that there might be a few more to come as well from him. Adds so much to what Ealing do. The way they play, they try and create space with him running into it. Certainly going to be difficult to stop.
And Richmond's defence has been so solid around those fringes in this match. They've really come up as a line and hit hard, but someone Duratalo's size, he is just that little bit bigger, that little bit more strong, able to get through those tackles.
Oh, another one. Massive spiral kick, but he's hit that straight out.
So Richmond then, good field position to try and get themselves back into this match if they can. Jono Woodward looks on, the man who was sin-binned. And in the meantime, Ealing capitalised.
good opportunity for Richmond.
Grimstone finds Warden. Richmond set up the maul, and they've been patient with their mauls against Ealing. Ealing desperate to knock them back straight from the line out, but they peel forward and keep going. So the ball went to the floor from the maul, and Richmond will keep it from a scrum this time.
Certainly a threatening position. I know from defending in that midfield, you have to really get those defensive systems right in that area, because you get them half wrong, someone makes a half break, it's a try. You don't get the, I guess, the comfort of having a bit of space in behind you.
Well, Richmond will be looking to test Ealing's defensive systems here, perhaps from a backline move. Outside of your shot, Richmond are shaping up to that effect. McLean it is who comes short, and Luke Jones goes by, and then it goes all the way around and looked to have thrown it forward just at the vital moment. That was very sharp thinking from Luke Jones.
You'd have to think that perhaps there's an opportunity for the referee to say it's a high tackle.
Indeed there was, and it's going to be a penalty try. The reasoning being Luke Jones must have been taken possibly by Grayson Hart, and there's going to be a yellow card as well. That yellow card has gone to Grayson Hart. So from hero to villain, Grayson Hart here at the Athletic Ground, scored a try. He's now got himself in the bin and given a try away. Well, credit Luke Jones, really. It must have been a last-ditch attempt from Hart, not a malicious player at all. But he's given that away, so straight 7-pointer.
And just as Richmond go back to their full complement, as Jono Woodward comes back on, Grayson Hart sits down on a plastic chair on the sideline to contemplate his actions for the next 10 minutes.
Try like that, you really want to give it to Luke Jones for that creativity and spotting the gap. His work is now done for the day. So Richmond ringing the changes, bringing on fresh legs. Can those fresh legs test Ealing, who are now down to 14?
Good chase, great chase. I think that was Seb Stegman down that far side. You can put a pinpoint accurate kick in there and get after it and force that receiver into touch. It's a fantastic opportunity for Ealing to get straight back into the game.
So what's the forwards' plan? Their next line out, Joe Munro comes off. His day's work is done in the Ealing backline. And Lewis Roebling comes on. New man on the scene here at Ealing, Lewis Roebling, joined from Jersey, where he played 3 seasons. No doubt keen to make his mark in this one. There's a good amount of time to see what he can do. Walker, unsurprisingly, tries to set up a maul, and, well, Richmond clearly pulled that down. Penalty to Ealing. They'll be delighted at that. Nothing else is going to eat up another minute. And Peter Lydon may well fancy this from the tee as well. He's got a ball in his hands. No, he won't though, so brave play from Ealing. One man down and still going for a play rather than taking the points. I guess he's not been taken off from the scrum. Still got a full 8 there.
You just think it runs the clock down a bit more, doesn't it? Takes a bit of time out of that card. You know, it's a fresh card, so he's only been off for a minute or so. It would have been an opportunity to get that down. A minute and a half, 2 minutes.
Stolen magnificently though by Davis at the front of the line-out.
And that's where it really hurts. If you make that decision and it doesn't come off, coaches are left with their head in their hands.
Stegman comes forward and claims it well and bursts out on a couple of tackles too. Ealing straight back on the attack. Richmond, their exit strategy there, not going to plan at all. Now Bright, stepping inside, takes a couple always to take him down. Penberthy's playing at scrum half, Roebling at fly half. Penberthy spots a gap himself and coughs it up though. Richmond with the let off. Well, it just opened up for Aaron Penberthy.
Probably not exactly what he was expecting, having just shifted into scrum half.
Well, that was his chance for a new career, wasn't it? So just a result for you elsewhere in the Greene King IPA Championship. Doncaster Knights have absolutely thrashed their Yorkshire rivals Rotherham Titans 44 points to 0. Incredible result for Doncaster, and well, Rotherham Titans, they finished below Richmond last year in the league, and not a good start to the season for them.
Really difficult. Shorn of a lot of players, changing in their coaching staff throughout the season last year. It certainly hasn't got off to a good start this year. That will really hurt them as well. Local derby. That's not one you want to let get away from you.
Another new man on for Richmond, the man with the ball in his hands, number 19, Jamie Gibbs. Former Ealing player himself back in 2009, a long time ago. Been at Richmond since 2012, come up through the leagues with them. He's looking in terrific shape this season. In training, he's so sharp. Getting a chance in this one. Harrison Edwards there. Another new man on, peeling off the back of the scrum and gaining yards. Gibbs with the box kick. Pressure still very much on Richmond. Another full-time score down at Hartpury College. Hartpury have lost a real tight one against Jersey Reds, 20 points to 19. Well, Hartpury, they gave Bristol a scare last week, and they've given Jersey another scare there. No one is going to fancy playing them this season, Tom, despite just coming up from National League One.
100%. I think they'll... I'll put my neck out now and say, I think they'll stay in the league. I think they've got the strength. They'll cause a real, upset, I think, at some clubs, some of the sides they play.
Walker just gets shunted out the back of his maul that he set up, and Brimstone brought him to the floor. Duratalo to Bright. Really good offload from Tem. Duratalo again. Putting in some hard running in the second half. Ealing have the advantage. Tem again. Really highly rated by Alex Codling is Dan Thames. Come down from Newcastle Falcons for this season. Piers O'Connor picks the ball up. Little dart and eats up another yard. Penalty to Ealing. Well, Ealing doing a great job of having 14 men on the pitch only, with Grayson Hart in the sin bin. Dominating territory at the moment, and now they have a chance for Peter Lydon to put them further ahead. This 10 minutes, Richmond will be so far kicking themselves. They haven't taken the advantage of it yet. We're about halfway through Grayson Hart's sin bin.
We saw that this morning, didn't we? In the New Zealand-Argentina game, almost galvanised the All Blacks. Went down a man, went down a key man, Bowden Barrett, and scored some really key points.
And those points key for Ealing as well, taking them to a 30 points to 23 lead.
Richmond 23, Ealing Trailfinders
And it came from very precise play by Ealing, using their big forward runners. Duratalo to the fore there. Kirby goes deep. Lydon fields it. Hammers one long again.
Change to the end over end.
Kept him well by Harrison Edwards though. And Kirby replies with a decent effort himself.
Yeah, it was a good return. If you can get past that 50-metre line in your return, you'll be pretty happy. Just got that ability then to be slightly more aggressive with your defence.
It will be interesting to see whether those 3 points have buoyed Ealing and whether they choose to try and play their all-court game. Well, they're still willing to shut up shop. It doesn't much matter. They don't have the ball. Stolen again by Richmond's line-out. Richmond really getting the edge on in this second half at that set piece. And now they set up a maul too. Grimstone has it, and now Gibbs. McLean, Mitchell can't get it quite out to Kirby cleanly, and he had to juggle with it. Simpson Heft has to clear up. Using his 100 kg frame, the winger, to tidy things up there for Richmond. Going nowhere though, so they'll come back for a penalty. So Ealing offside there. Chance for Richmond. Well, going to say chance to take a kick, but they might not want that at this stage. 7 points behind. Warden does ask Kirby to go for the corner.
You would have hoped for a better return than that. It's literally about 10 yards in front of him. You really got to try and get as close as you can to that 5 metre mark. Give your forwards the best opportunity they can to get their driving maul in play.
Warden goes up for it. And Richmond look to set up another maul. They've done well in that area in this game so far. And now Edwards sets off, skips out of the tackle. Harrison Edwards gets to the line in the corner. The touch judge has raised his flag though, just as he took his scoring step. Edwards stepped out of touch, skipped out of a tackle, peeled his way off that maul so well. Looked for all the world and all the crowd at Richmond Athletic like he was going to score that.
And he scored at one end, but this is a crucial try-saving tackle from Duratalo at the other end. Works so hard to get back, has to make it count. He did brilliantly.
And indeed, he's well out actually by there. When you see that in slow motion. Well, Edwards, he's such a strong carrier of the ball, but he hadn't reckoned on Andrew Duratalo's pace there. And if you're watching this on England Rugby's Facebook page, many thanks for joining us, for sharing your comments. We've had people watching in Ireland, the USA, New Zealand, Norway, South Africa, and of course in England as well. Do let us know what you think as well. If you're on Twitter and Facebook, hashtag #ChampRugby, or follow our handle @ChampRugby.
For Richmond,
Nicely poised this match as we end towards the end of the second half. Ealing 7 points ahead, 30-23 the scoreline. And you sense we've just experienced a key moment in that match. Duratalo dragging Edwards out just as he reached for the line.
That would have been the opportunity they were waiting for, wouldn't it? And perhaps that's where that kick, the difference in the yardage that they got from that penalty will make a difference.
Lovely set piece play by Ealing. up to the point where Alan Walker had to kick it. He didn't quite make the ground he hoped for. But Mark Bright and Alan Walker, well, they worked their self out of a tight spot there. Super line-out work, inventive line-out work. It does give Richmond the chance to set up again from this position. Can they pull the trigger this time? They go over though, and Ealing will be glad to see that. Ealing still one man down. Grayson Hart is loitering to come back on. But at the moment, Pemberthy plays scrum half.
It's not a bad box kick either.
Got chasers after it as well. Stegman was one of them. Coughs up though, so Richmond have a chance here. Gibbs knows there's space in behind and puts in a good box himself. Bright has to go back. Lydon now. No time to consider his kick and skewers that one off for about 10 metres, possibly his least gain of ground all match.
And if Alex Codling had any hair left to pull out, he is shrieking his head off behind us. Really disappointed. Seb Stegman had done brilliantly to catch that ball off Pemberthy's box kick and then almost just tossed it away. Gave it to Jack Alcott. Can't have just the disregard for the ball. You work so hard to get it back, to keep it. That's what builds pressure. They're the differences that really make an impact on the game. Game-changing moments, if you like.
So third opportunity for Richmond with that line-up from that position. This time they do somehow win it back. McLean sizes up his options and goes straight. 50th appearance for Richmond today. Wouldn't he love it to end with a win against his old club Ealing? They're going to have to score one try at least and then get something else at this rate.
Big
7
hit,
points behind, and Ealing are in no mood to give them a quarter. McLean, no options really, or he had a flat back line outside him, so chose to go himself. Offload was from Richmond's new man Alex Humphrey. Picks the ball up again, feeds Davis on his 191st appearance for the club. Grimstone. Gibbs orchestrating things well from the base of the scrum is Jamie Gibbs, but Cordy Reddin, well, a little bit of experience there, just popped up. Collecting the ball, Richmond risking everything to keep that attack alive. Well, that's a moment Aaron Pemberthy would rather forget. Well outside his 22.
Not off his favoured boot, was it either? Just looks like he's tightening up a bit. Richmond, it was Alex Humphrey there that gave the offload, which went straight into the hands of James Corey Redden. Just need to keep hold of the ball. They're so far out, it doesn't really make a difference. You know, don't go for those 50-50s, don't force the game.
Grimstone finds Humphrey. The Richmond crowd roar on their pack. Gibbs lends his weight. Grimstone still burrowed in. It's a good maul from Richmond, taking on the Ealing 8. McLean was in there as well and pops up with it. It's not yet up to the backs, although Cameron Mitchell takes a short ball. There's no backs to speak of on the far-hand side for Richmond, so they stay tight with Davis. Pick through from Humphrey. Gibbs now. The ball goes forward from Warden. Ealing come away with it. Richmond just a little bit imprecise as they sniff the try line.
Really short.
O'Connor has the ball in his hand, switches with Stegman. Excellent defence. I think it was McLean on the far side. Made his way across the field really well after appearing in that maul, and then to cut down Piers O'Connor there and Seb Stegman.
The Richmond forwards are out on their feet now. We've got Alex Humphrey, Will Warden, Ross Grimstone, and also we've got Chris Davies down this side. if Ealing can shift the ball, they'd have to think they've got opportunities to exploit that Richmond defence.
Richmond have done so much extra work on S&C, strength and conditioning, in pre-season for these moments, so they can keep playing with sides like Ealing. And Simpson Heft is doing just that. Gibbs, now Davis, feeds it on to Mitchell. They've played some great games between these two clubs in their time in the National Leagues. Richmond have never won any of them though. One draw in 2012, and that's what Richmond are playing for at the moment. If they can get a converted try, that would tie things up at 30 points all. Hart, big box kick, and super chase from Matt Cornish. He's just come on the pitch and showing all the running in the world there.
There's some numbers here though. Richmond's so slow to organise though. To get round that corner, get in position.
Goodrick Clark with the drive forward. Davis again, going through the gears. McLean, Simpson Heft working the tight space as well. Mitchell. Gibbs. He's really changed the pace, has Jamie Gibbs, since his introduction. Humphrey. Grayson Hart puts in a tackle that gets cleared out. Trenier that was, who just overran his man, and forward pass. Well, Richmond looking good in that phase, Tom, but ultimately not getting anywhere.
Yeah, just thought once or twice they were really close to getting away, but certainly putting some good pieces of rugby together. Substitutes making a bit of an impact. They just now look a little bit more tired than Ealing, and they don't look like they can keep that for a sustained period of time, which makes a difference. You have to keep hammering on that door, keep waiting for the opportunity to come, but then when that opportunity comes, they just don't quite have enough to get through it.
Well, as the time is still off, and Tom, your thoughts on who might be a man of the match for one of the sides today?
Well, let's look at Ealing. You know, they're leading at the moment. I certainly think that Pete Lydon's had a great game. Piers O'Connor in that outside centre channel, he's made some nice breaks, some good impacts on the game. Front five have been quite big, but for me, at the moment, should Ealing stay winners of this game, Greene King IPA man of the match is Andrew Giuratalo. He's been brilliant with ball in hand. He's carried well for Ealing, he's scored, and he's made a fantastic try-saving tackle at the other end of the field. He's going to have such a big impact on the Ealing Trailfinders throughout this season. He's my man of the match.
Giuratalo to the fore once again for Ealing. Man of the match last week as well against Cornish Pirates, as Ealing get the penalty. And they're going to go for the posts here as well.
I think Mark Bright signalled to the post without looking at Pete Lydon, who's stretching his hamstring. Just as we see footage of the man of the match, he's certainly a sizable human being. He's been brilliant today.
Yeah, of 4 tries for the US, 15 caps. As captain Fiji at under 19 and under 21 level, so there's that leadership element to his game too, and you lead by doing as well, don't you, Tom? May that tackle in the corner, great evidence of that. So we see Grayson Hart with ice on his knee. Lydon hammers one home again.
That is a fantastic kick. Bear in mind, he's been struggling with a bit of cramp. His ability to step up in the latter stages of a game like this and smash one right down the middle, that takes some doing. Fair play, Pete Lydon.
Stretches Ealing's lead to 10 points, 33-23 they lead. Richmond not done yet. Davis goes through Bright. Jake Parker has to turn and does keep hold of the ball. McLean chooses to go himself, and Ealing has a reception party waiting for him. Goodrick Clark carries well again. Such a talented prospect for Richmond. Will Goodrick Clark, just 21. Richmond edging their way forward slowly. They have the advantage. And Chris Davis there in the red scrum hat indicating to the posts to bring them back within 7 points, securing that bonus point.
Yeah, exactly. At this stage of the game, if you're going to take anything from it, you might as well secure that. I think they'll be quite disappointed. I think they've had opportunities to perhaps nick this game. They just don't quite have that killer instinct when it really matters.
Yeah, full credit to Ealing to be able to go through the gears when they needed to in that second half. Grayson Hart's try, spotting the gap, and then Andrew Duratalo as well when Richmond were a man down. Richmond and Rob Kirby here just playing for a bonus point, but a crucial point nonetheless in this Greene King IPA Championship season. Played over 22 rounds and bonus points, huge part of the game. Kirby gets it. And he gets a big old hug from Will Warden. It was the last play of the game. And Richmond come away with a bonus point. Ealing take the spoils overall, though, by a score of 33-26. Cheer from the fans behind me here at Richmond. It feels like a bit of a win, Tom, the way they celebrated that last kick. Great kick, though, it was from Rob Kirby.
Fantastic kick, and certainly they deserve something from the game. They put that much into it. They could have stolen it. I think they'll feel slightly shortchanged, but ultimately Ealing had enough in the tank. I think they'll be fairly disappointed. That I think certainly Alex Codling is going to read them a bit of a riot act in the changing rooms after. I think he'll feel that they could have extended their lead and made that a much more comfortable win. That said, thoroughly enjoyable game. Richmond, they'll build on that. That was better than last week, certainly. There wasn't the massive, vast difference in the two halves. You know, they've got something to build on now.
And they were truly competitive. They were at the races all game, taking the lead at half-time, and lost a man in the second half when Jono Woodward went to the bin, and a bit of a turning point. Ealing kicked on from there, and then Richmond couldn't do the same to them when Grayson Hart was in the bin. Both sides move on from here. For Richmond, their next match is away at Bristol next Sunday. And for Ealing, they are playing Bedford at home on Saturday. The next match on our Greene King IPA Facebook and championshiprugby.co.uk channels will be Yorkshire Carnegie versus Doncaster next Sunday, Sunday the 17th. So please do join us then. From here at the Athletic Ground, Tom May is poised to be interviewing the man of the match and speaking to a couple of the coaches. That's going to be in a separate stream, so please do join us back here on Facebook after that. So we just see Will Warden saluting the crowd, McLean on his 50th appearance. It's a big hand all round from Richmond's fans to their players, and quite right too. Stuck at their task. Amateur club playing a professional side. Let's not forget that. And they finish within 7. Ealing as well. More of a comfortable win than last week against Cornish Pirates, and they now have 2 wins from 2 matches in the new season. Alex Codling might be quite tight-lipped about what his expectations are for this season, but he is looking for the club to go as high as possible. That can certainly be said.
Richmond's man of the match for this game, presented by John Richmond's left. Don't forget Richmond are away next week to Bristol. Kickoff Sunday, and it's a 2 o'clock kickoff.
Well, Richmond will have, both sides in fact, will have a big old huddle in the middle of the pitch,
23rd of September, and that's against
which is just enough time for us to say thanks very much for joining.
Thanks to the ball boys, and thanks to our match officials, Fergus Kirby,
Here at the athletic ground, it has ended
Nick Marshall and Roy Mason.
by a score of 33-26. A few highlights here for you now. Grayson Hart's try, second half, Tom. It was a poacher's goal, poacher's try, really, wasn't it?
Yeah, exactly. I think Richmond are just starting to run out of steam by then. And Grayson Hart realised that. It's a defensive error, as we spotted with Jordan Simpson-Heft as he came around the corner. He was involved in that tackle there, and then just bounced off around the corner and forgot what he was doing. Left a gaping hole, which you can't do for a player like Grayson Hart. And that really was the beginning of the end, wasn't it, for Richmond?
This then, their 4th try, and perhaps the end for Richmond in this contest. Duratali, your man of the match, Tom.
Yeah, I thought he was brilliant all day. He carried well for Ealing, offered them a huge amount in attack. Saw a brilliant offload, didn't we, in the first half?
What an offload that was, incredible.
And he's got those skills, he's got the carrying ability. You know, and I think combine that with his defensive efforts in the corner here. This is a fantastic tackle. Really difficult to try and make sure that that's spot on, and he did brilliantly.
Harrison Edwards just short. I mean, he's finished tries like that off so many times in Richmond colours, and that time the big USA international got to him first. Final score here then from Richmond Athletic, just confirmation of that, 33 points to 26 in this second round Greene King IPA matchup. Thank you very much for joining us, and do join us again when Tom May will be speaking to the man of the match and to the coaches. But thanks very much for joining us, and have a very good afternoon.